Good day, classmate. Insert Timmy Nabal. We'll be presenting our argumentative speech about sex education in school. Sex education in schools. Sex education is commonly taught in high school health classes or guidance program. Education on sexuality is controversial because some parents and educators believe it's up to parents to teach kids on this subject. Additionally, debate around sex education centers on approaches to teaching including abstinence only, preventative or health-centered coaching. Studies have shown that abstinence only and delaying sexual activity or reducing pregnancies, despite the criticism, the positive effects of sex education are often shown in areas like STD and body awareness, reduced sexual activity, safe sex practices, consent, and reduced teen pregnancy rates. So today, we're going to identify the pros and cons of sex educations. Are these helpful or not? So, I'm agree of sex education in school because the issue is it gives information source. In order to have a proper, well-rounded education, young students also need to get educated about their own bodies, the human reproductive system, diseases that can be transmitted sexually, pregnancy, contraceptives, or etc. In case of no reliable source of information, young curious minds can look for the information from negative sources such as porn films or porn sites.
I'm not favor on what you have said in information source, and I totally disagree. Why? It's because even having a proper source of information in sex education on such young age is not appropriate at all. And every information must undergo a solid analysis. It's not like a thing that you can give easily to a person, and most especially to a student.
I'm not favor and I am totally disagree to the issue of awareness and education for young student because sex education is not like history. We have sexual organs and we getting information. It is possible that we desire to stimulate ourselves.
I totally agree in sex education. And the issue is awareness and education. Humans being needs to learn how to act in their sexual relationship. Sex education in school gives them the awareness to dissent between the myths and reality regarding sex, the do's and don'ts of a sexual relationship, to respect another person, etc. And this important part of education creates individual with strong morals.
I'm totally agree about sex education and school. The issue is prevention of STD. STD, known as a sexual transmitted disease, are a dark reality and owing to the inadequate measure of control over themselves. Young couples engaging in unprotected sexual encounters fall prey to it easily. Sex education teaches them properly about unprotected sex and the severe dangers associated with the phenomenon. They learn about contraceptives which can stop STD or sexual transmitted disease.
I'm not favor on what you have said about prevention of STDs. And I totally disagree. It's because they are the one who choose to do some unnecessary stuff, and they should be the one who must resolve it themselves. It's not like our problem anymore. We will just waste our time, waste our energy trying to prevent that STD problem, but at the end of the day, still the end, they will still choose that kind of stuff.
I totally disagree and not favor to the issue of teen pregnancy that when they undergo the sex education, less to get pregnant. But no, because mostly the teenage pregnancy happen due to the family problem, broken family, not family oriented, and lack of education and or dropping out of school. Another factor of teenage pregnancy are poverty, gender inequalities, and gender-based violence.
I totally agree in sex education and the issue is teen pregnancy. The rates of teen pregnancy have increased quite a lot and this phenomenon can be proved to be detrimental for young souls. However, studies have shown that teenagers are far less likely to get pregnancy if they undergo sex education classes than if they do not, and the progress teaching prevention techniques are generally more successful.
I'm totally agree about sex education and the other issue is it gives safe sex because sex education teaches the importance of practicing safe sex. This helps not only when people are young and at school but also when they are adults. Studies have shown that a great percentage of students either stop or greatly reduce the amount of unprotected sex they engage in before the start of the classes.
I'm not favor on what you have said about safe sex. I will immediately disagree on that. Think about this. You teach them the proper way, safe way in having a sex. But still, most of them wants an extreme intercourse. So in short, all you just said became useless. You can read what the students are thinking. At the same time, as time goes by, they can discover new things and some kind of weird stuff.
I totally disagree and not favor to the issue of reducing sexual activity. It is not true that when that sex education are completely understand when person is adult because in a modern trend if a person are going to have sex you have to make a choice or it is to plan to avoid risk at avoid risk of pregnancy at early age.
I totally agree in sex education, and the issue is reducing sexual activity. Sexual intercourse brings with it its own set of complications, and people engaged in it should be completely aware of the responsibility that came with sex. Young students form this responsibility through sex education and can understand the importance of waiting to engage in it. Sex till they are adults and capable to handle them.
I'm totally agree about sex education in schools and the other issue is consent. Human beings must understand the extreme importance of consent. Far before ever engaging in any sexual activity, since the activity involves two people and the consent of both individuals is of utter importance. This is something that sex education in classes engrave into the minds of young students, setting them up to be great individuals.
I'm not favor on what you have said about consent. I will totally disagree on that. They should know that for themselves if they will allow or not, if they are ready or not, because it's their own body, not ours. And if they really know their value, it's common sense. You must not agree to a person or on a person if you don't like or like to do that stuff.
I'm totally disagree and not favor to the issue of with the help of biology It is frequently cited but not formally taught. In addition, young adolescents are inundated with the sexual stimuli from provocative content in movies, TV shows, advertisement, and social media, right? And also with flirtation and sexting, and not by the help of biology.
I totally agree with sex education. And the issue is help with biology. Sex education classes in school often give the student a well-rounded education about the anatomy of human body. This not only help them understand their own physical bodies better, but these classes also can assist with their biology education, complete with grading, exam, assignment, etc. and grading that can add up to their graduation credits.
I'm totally agree about sex education, and the other issue is communication. Communication in sex education helps young students open up more about the problems they might be having either sexual relationships and their sexually as a whole. Often people are unwilling to share these problems with their parents, but they feel more comfortable in talking to their teachers of the sex education classes.
I will not favor on what you have said about communication. I will disagree on that. Talking about their sexual problem don't help them. It might just affect their mental health. All we need to do as a parent and as a teacher, we must warn them. And because if we talk about it, they might get the wrong idea and rebellion.
I'm totally disagree and not favor to the issue of lasting effect, because every person must be examine their gender differences and intrapersonal consequences of sex from very beginning. It is important for a person, for especially for young student, male and female, to know the consequences of having a sex. Young and adult person must be oriented and knowledgeable about sex to have a lasting effect.
I agree with sex education, and the issue is lasting effect. The taboo that sex is often made out to be, many people can be having several problems regarding their sexual relationship, sexuality, etc., but never understand the problem or know what to do. Learning about the sexual properly from an early age can help the person grow into a much more complete individual.
This is the one evidence of sex education. Increased conversation surrounding sex education. In addition to greater governmental action, there are various organizations that are working to increase access to sex education and services in the Philippines. The Health, the Roots of Health is a non-governmental organization that provides sex education to women in Palawan and Puerto Princesa, started in 2009. The founders, Dr. Susan Evangelista and Amina Evangelista Swain Powell, initially provided productive health classes at Palawan State University and in Puerto Princesa, and have since expanded into the pre-clinical services for young women. The Roots of Health provides services that assist with birth, reproductive health care, contraceptives, prenatal and postpartum checkups, and ultrasounds. By 2018, they served 20,000 women and adolescents in the Palawan and Puerto Princesa communities, demonstrating that there's a growing grassroots movement towards preferring reproductive health in the Philippines. According to Leah Torres, for the sake of the love and their future happiness as adults, do not shame their sexuality, do not demonize having sex, which was exactly part of how they came to exist. Show them that sex can lead to having babies, but also can be pleasurable for the sake of being pleasurable. That it can be bonding experience between partners of any gender, that it can feel good and also bring us confusing emotions, and most of all that it's okay to have it if and when they are ready. Then one day we may see a generation of adults who know what they want from sex and how to get it consensually, married or unmarried, and with protection. And that's all our argumentative speech. I hope you all learned something, and thank you for watching.